It was a warm Saturday afternoon when Jamal Williams zipped down the sidewalk, the sun gleaming off the shiny black frame of his new bike. He had saved up for months, working part-time at the local grocery store, doing yard work for neighbors, anything he could find. That bike was more than just a way to get around, it was freedom. As he coasted past the community center, he felt unstoppable, like nothing could touch him. He pulled up to the corner store, locked his bike to the rack, and went inside to grab a bottle of water. A few minutes later, he walked out, smiling to himself, reaching for his keys. That's when he noticed the police cruiser parked by the curb. An officer, mid-40s, stocky build, mirrored sunglasses covering his eyes, leaned against the hood with arms folded. His badge glinted under the sun. Jamal didn't think anything of it at first. He just kept moving toward his bike. "Hey, step away from that bike," the officer barked. Jamal froze, his hand just inches from the lock. "What?" Jamal said, confused. "I said step away," the cop repeated, now moving toward him. His hand hovered near his belt where his taser hung. "This is my bike," Jamal said, his voice steady but his heart starting to pound. He could feel the eyes of bystanders turning toward them. "Yeah? Got proof of that?" the cop said, his tone sharp. Jamal reached into his backpack slowly, carefully, pulling out the receipt he'd kept folded neatly inside a book. "I just bought it last week. Here's the receipt." The officer snatched the paper from his hand, glancing at it briefly before scoffing. "Could be fake," he muttered. Jamal felt heat rush to his face. This wasn't happening. Not here. Not over his bike. "I worked for that," Jamal said, his voice firm but respectful. "I bought it myself. You can call the store if you want." The officer shook his head, pulling out his radio. "We got a suspected bike theft in progress," he said into it. Jamal's stomach twisted. Suspected theft? Of his own bike? People were starting to pull out their phones now, recording, whispering among themselves. "Sir, please," Jamal said. "Just call the store. I know the owner, Mr. Ramirez. He knows me." The officer didn't answer. Instead, he circled the bike like it was some stolen treasure, inspecting it like it couldn't possibly belong to the teenager standing right there. A woman from the nearby hair salon stepped outside, wiping her hands on a towel. "That's his bike," she called out. "I saw him buy it last week. He was showing it off to all of us." The officer ignored her. Another man, a local barber, crossed his arms and said loudly, "Man, you just don't want to believe it's his, 'cause of what he looks like." Jamal felt his chest tighten. He clenched his fists at his sides, willing himself to stay calm. A second police car pulled up, sirens off but lights flashing. 2 more officers got out. Jamal's legs felt like they might give out. This was spiraling way out of control. One of the new officers, a woman with a kind face and gentle eyes, approached carefully. "What's going on here?" she asked. "Suspected bike theft," the first cop said. The woman looked at Jamal, then at the bike, then at the receipt still clutched in the first officer's hand. "He has a receipt?" she asked. "Yeah, but it could be fake," the first cop said, his tone defensive now. The woman held out her hand. "Let me see it." Grumbling, the officer handed it over. She studied it carefully, pulling out her phone and calling the number listed for the store. After a brief conversation, she hung up and turned to Jamal. "You're telling the truth," she said, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "Mr. Ramirez confirmed you bought that bike yourself. And he remembers you because you were so excited." A murmur spread through the crowd. Some people clapped. Jamal let out a shaky breath he hadn't realized he was holding. The woman turned to the first officer, her expression tight. "You owe this young man an apology." The first cop stiffened, his jaw working like he wanted to argue. Instead, he turned to Jamal and muttered, "Sorry. It was the kind of apology you said when you didn't mean it." Jamal nodded stiffly, not trusting himself to speak. The woman officer patted Jamal's shoulder gently. "You did everything right," she said. "I'm sorry you had to go through that." Jamal unlocked his bike slowly, feeling every eye on him. As he swung his leg over and started to pedal away, a woman from the crowd called out, "Keep your head up, baby." Another man shouted, "We're proud of you, kid." Jamal gave a small nod, blinking back the burning behind his eyes. He rode down the street, his bike wheels spinning fast beneath him, carrying him forward. Not just away from the scene, but toward something bigger. Toward a future he refused to let anyone steal from him. By the time Jamal reached the park, his heart had finally stopped racing. He coasted under the tall oak trees, their branches heavy with summer leaves, and pulled into a quiet corner near the basketball courts. He dropped the kickstand and sat down on a bench, his bike still gleaming in the sunlight. He pulled out his phone, thumb hovering over his mom's number. Should he call her? Tell her what happened? He imagined her face tightening in anger, her voice sharp with worry. No, not now. Not yet. He needed to breathe first. "Hey, you good?" Jamal looked up. It was Malik, one of the older guys from the neighborhood, wearing a Bulls jersey and carrying a beat-up basketball under his arm. Jamal gave a short nod. "Yeah, just had a rough moment." Malik sat down next to him, dribbling the ball lazily against the pavement. "I saw the videos, man. You were trending before you even left the corner." Jamal blinked. "Trending?" Malik grinned, showing a gold tooth. "Yep. Someone posted it online. You kept your cool. That's rare, man. Real rare." Jamal shook his head, feeling a weird mix of pride and exhaustion. "I didn't want trouble. I just wanted to ride my bike, you know." "I get it," Malik said, tossing the ball up and catching it. "But listen. What you did? Staying calm? Standing your ground? That's power. Don't ever forget it." Jamal sat back, letting Malik's words sink in. Maybe he had power. Maybe just surviving with your dignity intact was a kind of victory. As they sat there, a small group of kids came running by, laughing and chasing each other. One little boy stopped when he saw Jamal's bike. "Whoa, that's sick," he said, his eyes wide. Jamal smiled. "Thanks, little man." The boy's mother came hustling up, apologizing. "Sorry about that. He just loves bikes." "No problem," Jamal said, waving it off. The boy stared up at him. "Is it yours?" he asked, pure curiosity in his voice. Jamal chuckled. "Yeah, all mine." The boy grinned. "I'm gonna get one like that someday." "You will," Jamal said, ruffling his hair. "Just work hard and don't give up." The mother smiled warmly and they headed off toward the playground. Jamal watched them go, feeling a small spark of something good flicker in his chest. "See that?" Malik said, standing up and spinning the ball on his fingertip. "You're already inspiring people, man. Imagine what else you could do." Jamal stood too, brushing off his jeans. "Yeah? Like what?" Malik shrugged. "Whatever you want. College. Business. Activist. You got the spirit for it. You already showed today you don't back down easy." Jamal thought about that as he walked his bike over to the court. Malik tossed him the ball. Jamal caught it easily, feeling the weight of it in his hands. Maybe Malik was right. Maybe today was more than just a bad memory. Maybe it was the start of something. He took a shot. The ball arced perfectly through the air and dropped clean through the net. Malik let out a low whistle. "Man, you got game too," Malik laughed. Jamal grinned. "Guess I'm full of surprises." They played a few pickup games, Jamal running and laughing like he hadn't in months. Sweat poured down his face, but he didn't care. For once, he felt completely alive. As the sun started to dip below the trees, Malik clapped him on the back. "You need anything, you let me know, all right?" Jamal nodded. "Thanks, man. For real." They bumped fists and Malik jogged off toward his crew, leaving Jamal alone with the setting sun and his thoughts. Jamal straddled his bike, wiping his forehead. He knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be more days like today. Maybe worse. But he also knew something else now, something no one could take away. He belonged. He earned everything he had. And he was just getting started. As he pedaled home, the evening air cool against his skin, Jamal made a silent promise to himself. No matter what the world threw at him, he would never let them steal his light. He would ride faster, dream bigger, and live louder than anyone expected. And he would never, ever apologize for taking up space. The next morning, Jamal woke up early, his body still sore from the basketball games the night before. But the ache was a good one, a reminder that he was alive, that he was moving forward. He sat on the edge of his bed, looking at his bike leaned carefully against the wall. It wasn't just a bike anymore. It was a symbol of everything he'd fought for. Downstairs, he heard the clatter of dishes. His mom was already up, probably getting ready for work. Jamal pulled on a hoodie and jogged downstairs. His mom, Gloria, stood at the stove, flipping pancakes. She looked up when she saw him, her face softening. "Morning, baby," she said, her voice warm. "You hungry?" "Starving," Jamal said with a grin. She plated a stack of pancakes and slid them across the table. Jamal dug in, but he could feel her watching him. "You all right?" she asked finally, sitting down across from him. Jamal hesitated, syrup dripping from his fork. Should he tell her? About the cop? About the looks he got just for being himself? He swallowed and nodded. "Yeah, Mom. I'm good." She gave him a long look, like she could see the words he wasn't saying. But instead of pushing, she reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "You're strong," she said. "Stronger than you know. But you don't always have to carry it alone. Okay?" Jamal nodded, blinking fast. He didn't trust his voice not to crack. After breakfast, Gloria handed him a folded piece of paper. "What's this?" he asked. She smiled. "Something I thought you might be ready for." Jamal opened it. It was a flyer, Youth Leadership Summit, happening next weekend at the community center. Guest speakers, workshops, mentorship opportunities. "You think I should go?" he asked. "I think you could lead it," she said proudly. Jamal laughed, shaking his head. "I'm not a leader." "You are," Gloria said firmly. "You just don't see it yet." Jamal folded the flyer carefully and tucked it into his pocket. Maybe he'd check it out. Couldn't hurt, right? Later that day, Jamal rode over to the corner store to grab some snacks. As he locked his bike outside, he noticed two little kids sitting on the curb, arguing over a broken toy. One of them, a tiny girl with wild curls, was crying. Without thinking, Jamal crouched down. "What's going on, little lady?" he asked gently. The girl sniffled. "He broke my doll." Her brother scowled. "It was an accident." Jamal smiled. "Hey, accidents happen. You guys want to help me fix it?" Their eyes widened. "You can fix it?" "Maybe," Jamal said, pulling a roll of tape from his backpack. "Let's see what we can do." Within minutes, the doll's arm was taped back on. Not perfect, but good enough for a big smile to break across the little girl's face. "Thank you," she chirped, hugging the doll tightly. Her brother beamed too, and they ran off down the sidewalk, laughter echoing behind them. Jamal stood up, brushing off his hands. Malik's words came back to him, "You're already inspiring people." Maybe leadership wasn't about speeches and titles. Maybe it was about moments like this, about seeing someone hurting and choosing to help. Inside the store, Jamal grabbed a bottle of water and some chips. At the counter, Mr. Patel, the owner, smiled at him. "Good kid," he said, nodding toward the door where the kids had run off. "You have good heart." Jamal ducked his head, embarrassed but proud. "Thanks, Mr. Patel." As he rode home, he noticed something new. People nodding at him, smiling. A cop car passed by, but this time he didn't feel the need to tense up or look away. Not because the world had changed overnight, but because he had. He carried himself differently now, shoulders back, head high. He belonged. At home, Jamal pulled out the flyer again and studied it. Youth Leadership Summit. Maybe he wasn't just ready. Maybe he was meant for it. He opened his phone and started typing an email to the community center. Subject: Application for Youth Summit. He paused, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Then he smiled and typed, "My name is Jamal Brown. I believe leadership isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about standing up for what's right, even when your voice shakes." He hit send before he could overthink it. The future was waiting. And Jamal? He was ready to ride straight into it. The week leading up to the Youth Leadership Summit was a whirlwind. Jamal spent his evenings researching past speakers, reading about community activism, and practicing what he might say if he got the chance. Every time he felt doubt creeping in, every time he wondered if he was good enough, he remembered the little girl's smile when he fixed her doll, or the way Mr. Patel had looked at him with pride. He was enough. Finally, the day of the summit arrived. Jamal stood in front of his mirror, adjusting the collar of the nicest shirt he owned. His mom peeked into his room, a proud smile lighting up her face. "You look sharp," she said. Jamal grinned. Thanks, Mom. She stepped closer and straightened his collar, then placed her hands on his shoulders. No matter what happens today, she said quietly, you already made me proud. Jamal blinked fast, fighting the lump in his throat. Thanks, Mom, he whispered. At the community center, the air buzzed with energy. Teens from all over the city milled around, some laughing nervously, others clutching notepads or folders. Jamal checked in at the front desk and got a name tag. Jamal Brown, participant. He pinned it to his shirt and took a deep breath. You got this, he muttered to himself. The first workshop was about public speaking. The leader, a young black woman named Ms. Ellis, spoke with such passion that Jamal couldn't help but be drawn in. You don't have to be perfect to make a difference, she said. You just have to be present. You have to show up. You have to care. Jamal scribbled the words down in his notebook, underlining them twice. Later, during a break, he found himself standing by the snack table, nervously sipping a bottle of water. Hey! A voice said beside him. He turned to see a tall boy with a friendly grin. I'm Marcus, the boy said, holding out his hand. Jamal, he replied, shaking it. You nervous too? Marcus asked. Jamal laughed. Is it that obvious? Nah, Marcus said. You look cool. I'm the one sweating through my shirt. They both laughed, and just like that, Jamal felt a little lighter. Maybe he wasn't alone after all. The afternoon session was a mock debate. Volunteers were picked at random to argue different sides of an issue. Jamal's stomach dropped when his name was called. He stood up, his palms sweaty, and walked to the front of the room. The moderator gave the topic. Community centers should receive more funding than sports stadiums. Jamal was assigned the agree side. He glanced at his opponent, a confident-looking girl with glasses, and took a deep breath. When it was his turn to speak, Jamal thought about Malik, about the little kids at the store, about the safe places that had helped him find his way. He spoke from the heart. Community centers are where kids like me find mentors, find hope, find family when maybe they don't have one at home. Stadiums are fun, sure, but community centers save lives. He finished, his voice steady and strong. The room was silent for a beat, and then erupted into applause. Jamal sat down, his heart pounding, but this time it was from pride, not fear. Later, Ms. Ellis approached him. That was powerful, she said. You have a real gift, Jamal. He ducked his head, embarrassed but thrilled. You should think about running for youth council, she added. Me? Jamal said, eyes wide. Why not you? She said, smiling. For the first time, Jamal didn't have an answer. That night, back at home, Jamal sat on the porch steps, looking up at the stars. His bike leaned against the railing, a silent reminder of how far he'd come. His mom came outside and sat beside him. You know, she said, nudging him with her shoulder. When you were little, you used to tell me you wanted to be a superhero. Jamal laughed. Yeah, I remember. She smiled. I think you still are. Maybe not with a cape, but with your heart. Jamal felt his chest tighten. He rested his head briefly against her shoulder. Thanks, Mom. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, the night warm around them. Finally, Jamal spoke. I think I might run for youth council. His mom's smile was so bright it could have lit up the whole block. I think you'd be amazing, she said. Jamal leaned back, looking at the stars. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would still be challenges, still be moments of doubt and fear. But Jamal wasn't the same boy he had been a few months ago. He was stronger now, braver, and he was ready to lead not just for himself, but for every kid who ever felt invisible, every family who ever felt unheard. Jamal Brown was ready to stand up, to speak out, to make a difference. And this time, the world was going to hear him loud and clear.